Awesome to see all these faces. All right, Paul, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Nu halati tamnief tsavalti. Nu pakaburian pahan matsiwa. Nu pamatojuyan pimatsiwa. Ya itam honan wang wasana Clara Pueblo Ankh. Nikyang sungopabi. Nawawang sungopabi Ankh. I'm Paul Cabodi. I'm currently the chairman of the board of the board of trustees for the Hopi Foundation. I'm happy that all of you have been able to join our call today, and I look forward to visiting with you all. This is our 36th annual meeting. This is our meeting where we share with everybody kind of a little bit more about who we are, what we're doing, and how it's going. And so I want to welcome you all to the meeting, and also I want to acknowledge Monica Nuvamsa, our executive director, and give you the opportunity to give your welcome. Monica.
We ne contact ki ne piutuat because I ne Myanmar tiwa ne kyan ne sangopanga sino ne piu oma wanga patki wanga sangopanga good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm really happy to see some familiar faces tonight. I'm really glad you're able to join us for tonight's update. It's been a year roughly since we last provided an update on the foundation. So we look forward to sharing some news with you. Welcome, everyone.
So just to start out, Hopi Foundation is a mature organization. It's been around almost 40 years now, the 36th annual meeting. We were officially chartered in 1987. Hopi Foundation was really, I like to think of Hopi Foundation, when I became aware of it, I was really impressed with Hopi Foundation because Hopi Foundation is an organization that is solidly grounded in Hopi, on the Hopi community, Hopi values, Hopi culture. And I think about other organizations that I have seen, you create a 501c3 nonprofit entity and you figure out how to infuse your values, culture, and mission, what you want to do into that organization. Hopi Foundation, consistent with the value of Basit Nangwa, the Hopi value of really being thoughtful and intentional, that before Hopi Foundation ever got off the ground, there was 3 or 4 years of talking and deciding what this organization is, what it can be, how it will be based and grounded in Hopi, how it can be done in a way that's consistent with everything about Hopi. And I was so impressed with how that was done. Hopi Foundation has a 50-year vision, the 50-year vision, which is about self-sufficiency, self-reliance, and local determination, to engage and involve community, being active participants towards our own destiny as a community. I wanted to say something about the mission, as our founders came together to talk about, well, actually, before I do that, let me say a little bit something about who the Hopi Foundation are, some of our historical founders and members and trustees. So the people who founded the organization are Dr. Rob Robin, Floyd Lomakuivaya, Patrick Lomawaima, Berdina Polaka. These were the people who initially came together to talk about what it is that Hopi Foundation could do in service to the people of Hopi. One of the things that the founders did was they created something called a membership. The Hopi Foundation is different from other organizations that I have ever been with because we, very often the board of trustees, the board of directors are the ones who are kind of the ultimate accountability. They define the direction, they define the destiny, they oversee all of the responsibilities of the organization. They manage the executive director and assure that the organization is moving in a way that's consistent with what everybody wants to have happen. The founders of the Hopi Foundation had an additional piece of wisdom that they created a membership. The membership were a collection of people which included some of our founding members, but they became the ones who would decide who was going to be on the trustees, the board of trustees. And to this day, we still have a membership body whose purpose is to ensure that the board of trustees is a group of people who are really carrying the mission forward in a responsible and appropriate way. So our members currently are Doran Dalton, Philip Dualistiwa, Myrna Bavattiwa, Barbara Poli, and Berdina Polaka. And our current board of directors is myself, Carrie Green, Beatrice Norton, Pat Sikakwaptiwa, Patricia Sikakwaptiwa, and Terry Hines. I just want to give each of our board members just an opportunity to say hello and say your greetings. I will start with Carrie. Carrie Green is a good friend of Hopi. Her family runs an art gallery in Santa Fe. They have been very, very involved with very many of the Hopi artists and families here in Hopi for decades. And we're very happy and honored to have Carrie be part of our board of directors. Carrie, I want to give you the opportunity to give your greeting and hello to everyone. Carrie, I'm assuming you're on the call. I'm going to skip over you for now, Carrie. Let's go to B. Norton. B is from the village of Oraibi. She's a community-based. She's community-based and very, very active in the engagement of the Hopi Foundation is involved with in serving community. And I'd like to give B the opportunity to give your greetings. B.
B, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Owen the Quang tập kia nữ Beatrice Norton yan pahan ma zu kyang nữ guess ngồi nữ yan Hopi ma zu bu nữ biu yang orai ngak sino. Good evening. It's a beautiful evening. My name is Beatrice Norton and my Hopi name is Geshoinem. I'm from the village of Oraibi and I'm Corn Clan P. Geswonga. Corn Clan from the village of Oraibi. And just want to welcome everybody, to this presentation. I look forward to hopefully meeting some of you some days and also just reminiscing about, the whole foundation, the origin of the foundation. That's it.
Thank you, B.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we have Patricia Sikakwaptiwa. Patricia comes from the village of Hutvilla. She is an attorney and has been very active out in Hopi in several capacities with the tribe and including also a justice on our Hopi courts. So, Pat, hello. And you might be muted, but Pat.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There we go. Yes.
I was not permitted to unmute. Um, it's an honor to meet the members of Hopi Foundation and just to see everybody, catching up with some of the folks back home that I can see on the little tiny squares that I haven't seen in years. So my name is Pat. You can call me Pat Sikakwaptiwa. My Hopi is very rusty. I've been away living in Alaska for a decade, and I'm really having to come back and brush up on it. For those of you who, some of you may remember, I grew up in the village of Kikotsmovi, but I'm a member of Haute-Villa thanks to my dad, Wayne Sikakwaptiwa. And my Hopi name is Palakwaimana. And my mom is Susan Sikiakwaptiwa. She's a Bahana lady from Texas. And some of you may remember me from when I'm a little kid out at Hopi. These days, I only am coming out usually for court and hearing cases. But also I would like to start coming out and meet with the Hopi Foundation, the members, the staff, and work with programs. I've just moved back down from Anchorage, Alaska to Southern California. So I'm really looking forward to meeting everybody in person at some point and also getting to know you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. We also have on our board of directors, Terry Hines. Terry comes from the village of Mangkapi, and Terry has a very storied history and engagement and involvement with nonprofit organizations and human resources in the corporate world. And she brings a wealth of knowledge and guidance in our governance on the board. And I look to her. I look to her for guidance for a lot of the things that we do as a governing body. And so I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, Terry. Welcome to the call.
Paul, I don't see Terry on the call today.
Oh, okay. All right. So we may miss Terry.
Paul, I see a message in the chat saying she can't unmute herself.
Oh.
Assuming she's KG.
Oh, that was Carrie. And Carrie Green sends her regards that she's not able to unmute. Monica, is that a setting that we have that we?
Yeah, I requested them to unmute themselves. I can't unmute them on my end.
Okay. Carrie, can you try one more time and see if you're able to unmute?
I think, did that work?
Great. Yes.
Hello, everyone from Santa Fe. It's nice to see all your little faces and those little squares, as Pat said.
Thank you, Carrie. Carrie serves the organization currently as our vice chair on the board of trustees. So I wanted to just say a little bit about the mission. When our founders created the Hopi Foundation, they were very thoughtful and very intentional about what the organization was going to do and how it was going to carry its work forward. In Hopi is ancient. Hopi are agricultural people who we have lived here in the middle of the desert for literally thousands of years. In the very place we're at now, we know we have been here on Hopi at least 1,200 years, and our history goes even beyond that. Being agricultural people in the middle of the desert, with no water, rivers anywhere near us, it takes a lot of hard work. It takes perseverance, determination. And Hopi chooses to do this because when things are too easy, we lose our way. And it's an important value to be endeavoring for the things that are important to us. Because of that history, because of that tie to agriculture and being in the desert, all of those things that culminate in crops growing up, the rain that's the rains, the moisture that comes from the sky, the acts of planting and tending our crops, the process of growing and maturing and blossoming and bearing fruit. All of these things are such significant metaphors in Hopi. In everyday language, these are the kinds of metaphors that are used just to describe things that are good and the blessings that we have. And so when Hopi Foundation came up with its mission, they were thoughtful in coming up with the English translation, but also they were very, very intentional about coming up with the mission in Hopi. The English translation is that the mission of Hopi Foundation is it's the community of furthering unity of aspiration that blossoms into maturity over time. And a significant piece of that is the process, the community process. It's not the end result, it's the endeavoring together. The Hopi mission, the Hopi name for that mission, Mamasamit ng Utuk Silmani, is powerful in Hopi because it encapsulates all of those things, those powerful metaphors. Loma Samit ng, that value of all of us coming together, Loma Hinta, that coming together in a good way, working together, endeavoring together, working together towards that will grow and blossom and bear fruit that will sustain us. It's so significant, and because of because the mission is focused on the process, this mission is really said in a way, in a tense that implies this is ongoing. It's not the culmination, the end result. It's the process of being involved and engaged and working towards the good things, because we know that there's always going to be work, always going to be endeavoring. There's always good things ahead in the future that are going to be the result of what we do. So we focus on the process of making those good things happen. So that's a little bit about the organization, about the mission. And from that, I want to, we said a little bit about the founders, but I'd like to hand it over to Monica at this point to introduce the folks on the ground who are getting the work done and say a little bit more about what Hopi Foundation is up to and doing now. So take it away, Monica.
Awesome, thank you. I want to acknowledge, I see one of our founders on the call tonight, Doran Dalton, all the way from Southern Arizona. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be joined also by our leadership staff at the administration of the Hopi Foundation. They are the heavy lifters of all things involved with the foundation. There's Hannah Honani, who's the operations director. Samantha Honani, who is the program director. She's currently detailed at the radio station. We have Rinalda Jackson within our finance department. She's the staff accountant. Cody Honani, who is our development manager. And Deanna Ortiz, who is the office assistant. She helps to coordinate all the communication and keep us informed in the midst of all of our busyness. The next tier of people that I want to introduce that will have a chance to introduce themselves in more detail are Brian Humitiwa, who's the Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center Manager, Kyle Nudemia, who's the Not One You Program Manager, Teresa Lucero, who's the KUI Station Manager, and Cliff Kay, who's the Hopi Leadership Program Manager. Paul, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I was. Thank you. The way that Hopi Foundation approaches its work, the Hopi Foundation works towards addressing the disparities that we experience on Hopi. And I'm going to use that word once, disparities, because Hopi Foundation culturally strives to be consistent with the value of Itamnapiani, this value of we're doing it ourselves. We're not reliant on others. We support each other in a way that lifts us all up. And so Hopi Foundation is really an assets-focused entity, an organization. We understand that there are areas where we can assist one another in ways that we can all lift ourselves up together. And so the community assets that we can articulate include those human assets, those of us who are all here, the rich and deep cultural assets that Hopi has, that strength of the Hopi culture and values, our knowledge, our intellect, our smarts that have sustained us in adapting to things over thousands of years. The social aspect, our clans, our connectedness, and how we interact and understand our connections all to each other, are the environmental values that we have as stewards of the world, of the earth, of the land, that we have always had in living in this world. The financial assets, as an organization, as a foundation, this is an area where we have financial assets that we manage in the most prudent and responsible way that we can, to leverage and get the things done that as a foundation and nonprofit organization, and that the spiritual assets that we have that sustain us. So this is the approach that the Hopi Foundation takes in engaging community as we move forward and doing the work together, all of us.
Thank you, Paul. Another aspect of our approach to the work that we do, and before we get more deeper into the program updates, we want to share with our community here is talk about how we look at building our strength from within, and it follows a cycle of growth. You see the diagram on the screen that has 6 phases of growth. The first stage is to envision and commit to an idea or a purpose. And a lot of times in Hopi culture, we look at that as a prayer. We start off with a prayer and an intention to develop something of benefit for all. So that's the first stage. The second stage is to start up and launch. And we use an image of starting a basket, really putting together the foundation of what you want to shape, what do you want to build from that. And it's not quite fully designed yet, or you may not be able to see what the finished product will be, but that's the phase where you're developing those ideas and pulling all of the effort of your community together toward a common purpose. The third stage is to grow and deliver. So there you've already planted some of those seeds into the idea that you have, and you start to see some things bear fruit, some small things. The image we use here is the first harvest of fresh green corn. It's not the fully matured corn that we use to replant seed. It's the early corn where you can have your first meal and benefit from the initial startup phase of the work. And in this phase, many organizations find themselves really taking stock of some of their early efforts, and they start to see a product come out of that work, and they start to engage more people in that effort. So it's in the grow and deliver phase. The fourth stage is to specialize and control. And this phase is really focused on seeing that you've harnessed some expertise, you have a track record of development and providing a service in the community, and you're working to refine that. It may also be more about how you develop more structure, creating policies, strengthening the aspects that really make an impact in the community through your programming. So that's the fourth phase. The fifth phase is called delegate and evaluate. It's the part where programs often see more staff leadership, and they start to delegate responsibilities. You see more ownership of staff and taking the lead around various aspects of the programming. People are really growing within their own strengths around the work. And it's an exciting time for many programs to be in. There's a level of comfort and confidence that comes with stage 5 and delegate. It's also a time that you may want to begin to look at your historical outcomes and determine whether the impact is heading in the direction that you want it to. So delegate and evaluate reflects that phase of growth. The last phase is called renew and rebuild. And this can be a phase where you can really hit your peak momentum around the development of a program. You can see a lot of community buy-in and excitement continuing to grow around the mission. It can also be a time when change can happen, maybe a leadership shift, or maybe funding is changing, or you may want to take a different strategic direction. So renew and rebuild can be either continuing to peak in your work, or take a look and reflect at maybe starting a whole new direction, or invest in another area of your talents and your mission. So those are the 6 phases that we define our success within our programming. Because of our mission being focused around doing the work ourselves and really strengthening our community's capacity to develop and create programming that's going to have long-term sustainable value. These are the measures that we use. And a lot of times we align those values with what we see in our community, our life experience around our agriculture, and our relationships in the community. So I want to just preface that for you to know how we frame our growth from within. So with that, I want to go ahead and start with the Hopi Foundation. I first of all want to thank you all again for joining us and also supporting us over the years. We're coming out of the last phase of this experience, this global experience around the pandemic. This first slide that I want to share with you shows a picture of where we've been financially, and it also tells the story about how we've been able to shift around the pandemic. I think one of the most amazing things that I can share about the Hopi Foundation in the last 3 years is that we had gotten to a point to be able to have that confidence and the infrastructure in place to be able to swiftly respond to our community needs during a very difficult time in our human history. when you look at this diagram, there's three aspects that we're looking at. There's the operating budget, which is, our regular operating cost and our operating activities, if you will, of the organization. You see that over 2020 to 2022, we've been able to maintain a stable level of operation. We didn't grow too much. We did shift quite a bit of our focus during the early onset of the pandemic. We also were able to leverage resources during that time, which is what you see with the orange line peaking in between 2021 or 2020 and 2021. And it continued to grow into 2022. These resources were primarily from foundation partners and donors who wanted to help respond to our community needs around the pandemic, helping us to build our capacity to be able to work remotely. We had to all learn, like everyone else, how to work with Zoom and how to connect with people over technology. And it was quite a journey for all of us. And I'm happy to say that with the gray line that you see moving alongside that orange line, it shows that our actual dollars raised, our resources raised were aligned with our goals and our vision for fundraising. And I'm looking forward to sharing more about 2023 with you. The next slide shows our current activities through our operating budget. You see through our pie chart, this reflects a budget of 1.2 million, which is a steady growth for the organization. I don't think we've increased significantly from prior years in terms of our operating costs. The majority of our resources are in the area of personnel and with our capital improvement projects right now. Our personnel costs are really directed toward our direct customer support to our programs, making sure that they remain strong and stable in their operations. Our development work, grant writing and fundraising is also part of the effort that we put in to support our programs. We do a lot of internal capacity building as well, training around operations, management, financial management. And we also have worked with each of our programs to help them be more reflective on their strategic scope. So we do track their development and their planning around their program missions to make sure that they are continually looking at that dial of change that they want to create in our community and that our community would like to see. So those are the two primary highlights I have for the operating budget. The remaining costs are pretty average, around 7 to 2% around our program direct costs, contract services, travel, and general business operations. The next slide we have shows you our aspirations for this year. We are in mid-year. At this point, our goal at the beginning of the year was to raise an additional 1.5 million. The sources that we were targeting for this 60%, which is a pretty large sum and pretty average for our organization, to focus on foundation grants, some private federal grants as well. The next highest area of our target would be carryover dollars, which are really just our savings that we try to keep a balance of, so that, if there's any kind of gap between funding, we can help to fill those gaps for any of our programs. If, say, for example, radio had a need for an equipment that went out, we can help to support that need. We can also help to support consulting for any of our programs in their capacity building. So we try to make sure we have some resources to be able to fill some gaps and work can continue forward. The next big area we have in our target is our individual donors. And we have been so fortunate to have a lot of awareness building in the community, I think largely in part due to the work of our Hopi Emergency Relief Fund. It was sort of a door opener for folks to learn about the foundation and our programs that we operate under the organization. And we've been fortunate to sustain some of those donors from over the pandemic period into the ongoing work of the organization and our programs. We do maintain endowments. We host them at the Hopi Foundation. We host them at the Arizona Community Foundation. They're our philanthropic partner. We have an asset of little over $2 million there, and the resources that we gain are primarily from the interest, and only up to 4% of that interest. Any remaining interest will go back into the corpus of the fund to continue to grow. So we're very conservative in how we tap into that resource. And I can tell you through the last 20 years, I've seen this asset support our stability through economic challenges. There was the tech bubble, the housing bubble, and now the pandemic that had some great economic impact within our nonprofit sector. And our endowments were slightly impacted, but it was not significant to the point that it allowed us to stay stable through this time. So I'm really grateful for the diversity of resources that the foundation has been able to invest in over the years, and grateful to our founders for having that foresight in building those assets for us. Our last slide is really to share more detail about what we've done this year. We've been really trying to shift back into the normal, quote unquote, normal business operations after this amazing journey post-pandemic. We've been working to normalize. This year is our first full year to be in person and operating and open to the public. As a result, we were very excited to jump on our goal to update our strategic plan, which we did in April of this year. So I feel like we're on firm ground again and know our direction and our tasks over the next several years. Thank you to our community, our program staff, and our board members for being a part of that work. We also have been hosting quite a number of visitors that we've been holding off from coming to Hopi. We wanted to host Flora Family Foundation. They've been a fairly new funder to our community. They also fund several other nonprofits in addition to the Hopi Foundation. So we hosted their family. They were able to bring about 3 generations of the Flora Hewlett family to Hopi and experience some of our programs and meet our staff and our community. We also hosted an international funding group called Mia Taro. They are comprised of Indigenous leaders from around the world. And it was an amazing experience getting to learn about them and their work and introduce them to our community and our vision for our community. We've also been working on several regional and statewide advocacy efforts within the philanthropic and nonprofit sector. I currently serve on the board for the Arizona Community Foundation, and I've been working with several Indigenous leaders, nonprofit leaders in the state to develop a giving circle, a Native Indigenous giving circle, which will be awarding its first grants this year to Native-led organizations. We have also, I have also served on the board for the Alliance for Nonprofits and Arizona Alliance, and we recently went through a merger with the Arizona Grantmakers Forum. So it's now a hybrid organization of nonprofit and philanthropic organizations that is now newly named Arizona Impact for Good. So we just announced that new title last month, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to bridge those resources to our local community. And part of that effort is also looking for new leadership within our community to step into those networking roles for Native and Indigenous-led organizations. Then the last piece in terms of what we've been able to accomplish this year is really focused on our relationship building, because we've been so isolated during the pandemic. It's been one of our goals to reconnect with our community outside of Hopi. We recently hosted a fundraiser in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we were able to connect with a long-lost Hopi member who had been living in New Mexico now for the majority of her life, and it was a really beautiful connection. And I look forward to seeing more of that. I know we have a lot of community living away from Hopi, and I hope that technology is another way for us to connect with the hub and the spokes that leave the reservation. For the remaining time of the year, I think it's important to share with you that we do have some really big strategic goals this year. We're going to upgrade our financial system as we grow as an organization, making sure that our financial systems are secure and adequate for our growth is really important to us. So that's one of the goals that we have. We are also continuing to provide fundraising and capacity building training for our programs. We have several programs that have leadership of less than 3 years. So we are still working to grow and nurture their leadership and their development under the Hopi Foundation. As I mentioned earlier, we are also working to make sure that all of our programs are operating on updated strategic plans. So that is exciting time for many of our projects who are looking forward to renewing their goals. And then last but not least, I do want to mention that I have shared my intention with my board leadership that I intend to retire from my role in the next year or two. And I think that creating a viable transition, one that does not impact the organization in any way that, deviates us from the path that we have been on for these many years. That's so important to me. And I want to ask our board chair to share a little bit more about that as we move forward into today's report. I think that I am open to sharing any answers to questions that people may have, but I also want to share with you that my transition is not a goodbye. I'm still going to be here in the community. I'm looking forward to raising some of our leaders from within the organization to step into leadership and carry our flagship forward. So thank you.
Oh, okay, that sounds like a cue for me. Monica, one of the things about Monica as the executive director of the Hopi Foundation, Monica is very, very knowledgeable about all aspects of managing and running well a nonprofit organization like the Hopi Foundation. She's very, very adept and understands the governance roles that we as trustees have in working with us and in managing the staff. One of the things that I have been really impressed with Monica is about her strategic mindedness. As Monica had mentioned, there's this continual work of internal capacity building. There's continuous leadership development happening within the organization so that staff is continually moving up. And we have our fair share of attrition. We have people who come into the organization and move on and do other things out in the world. And the Hopi Foundation is kind of a shiny beacon of efficacy and advocacy and all kinds of really neat things. I'm a volunteer in my role as board chair. In my work outside of this, I work all over Indian country, and I do a lot of work with leadership bodies, with other nonprofit organizations. And one of the things that I see and hear on a regular basis as I travel around Indian country, people are, the Hopi Foundation has a reputation that people are aware of, and it's a very good reputation. And people are very complimentary and very interested in trying to emulate and look to the Hopi Foundation as a model for what organizations can be doing in Indian country. I hear it in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in California, in New York. And that's a testament to the leadership that we have with Monica at the helm, but also our other leaders within the organization and the entire staff that we have who's carrying out the work. And I say this to all of you as staff of the Hopi Foundation who are on this call. The work that you are doing with this organization is exemplary. And when you leave your seat, your day-to-day 9-to-5 job here at the Hopi Foundation, and you go out into the community, you carry with you the leadership, the embodiment of all the leadership that you exhibit here at work, and you take that out into the community. And you are well received, well respected for just being part of this organization and for everything that you contribute to us here. And I want to thank every one of you for every contribution that you have made toward the success of this organization. And so, as Monica had said, as she's planning her transition out of this organization, we have full confidence and assurance that, you know, she's not gonna walk away 100%. She's gonna be available to assist as she moves on to other things. But that intentional aspect of capacity building and bringing up new leadership to take on, we as a board have made the commitment to ensure our longevity, well, to ensure our availability and consistency throughout this transition, and assist in the turnover as Monica's transitioning out and we're bringing new leadership in. We just want to we're all in this together, board and staff, to ensure that the mission, the vision, and the values of the Hopi Foundation will endure and persist. And I'm just so grateful and thankful to you, Monica, for everything for all the amazing work you have done to bring the Hopi Foundation up to where it is today from when you first came in, and the work that you have put in to ensure that we will continue to move forward in a good way, that this is not a leadership dependent organization. There's processes in place, there's procedures in place, and there's leadership spread out across the board that's really intended to ensure the organization is going to endure for a very long time.
Well, thank you for that, Paul. And I hope you know, our staff, Samantha and Hannah, who are part of my leadership team here at the organization, also have their perspectives, and I encourage you to talk to the staff about that development. Our goal is to raise leadership from every level of the organization. If there's an interest and desire to grow and carry forward the mission of the foundation, there's a pipeline for that. And those are some of the systems that we've been putting in place organizationally. And I like how Paul said it, that it's not just person dependent, that it's something that's a shared responsibility and a shared stewardship among our organization staff. That's Wally. I'm going to go ahead and transition to the next presentation by KUII.
All right.
And Sandy, introducing yourself too.
Yeah, okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Na Samantha Honani yan bahan matiwa na bakwa mana yan Hopi matiwa na pipongwa satawa tewang. I'm Samantha Honani. I'm the current program director for the Hopi Foundation, as well as the interim general manager for KUII Hopi Radio. I'm going to be co-presenting with my station manager, Teresa Lucero. If you can introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see everybody's faces in the little boxes, like everybody said. My name is Teresa Hunter Lucero. I come from the village of Hopella. I'm barely with the station for 4 months. Well, on the 15th will be 4 months. I'm Rabbit Clan, and I moved back. I was raised off reservation, and I recently moved back in 07. So fairly new back home.
All right. So we just wanted to share with you all a glimpse into the funding history in the past 3 years, which is really a synopsis of the pandemic and how we, navigated through that financially at the KUII radio. And as you can see, our operating budget remained at around the $300,000 threshold fairly through the first part of the pandemic into the mid portion of that, and then inclining toward the end there. Some of and then also looking at our fundraising and revenue, they did that shift there, starting off with our fundraising goal of 144,000 to 180,000 in the beginning of the pandemic, and then spearheading up there, as well as our year-end review, our year-end revenue. A portion of that is just showing how the KUII radio was fortunate to receive funding from the stimulus. Our Corporation for Public Broadcasting had available funding, significant funding available for radio stations, and we were able to receive some of that. And then also what contributes to that spike there in our fundraising goal was the need to move into a new radio station. And we'll share a little bit more about that, but we have been able to secure a modular for us to move into. And so a lot of that has contributed to those findings there. So I'll go ahead and give it to Teresa to go over our financial health dashboard here. I mean, the operating budget.
Okay. Our operating budget for 2023, as you can see, the total was $520,305. But a majority of that, 46%, is for personnel. And we're slowly building our capacity at the radio station. And so a lot of the costs, operating costs budgeted is for that. And like Samantha had said, we have 24% going to our building and equipment because we're trying to upgrade all our equipment. Guyi is going to be having a birthday in December of 23 years. So we do need to get in the 21st century with our technology and radio broadcasting equipment. The rest of it, we have contracted services, which is helping with our training for our new staff that's coming on board. So that's helping a lot. Operations is at 5%. So we're slowly building, and our occupancy is at 9% because we've been moving around a lot. So we're renting a space right now at the corner of Highway 264 and 87. So right now we're paying for the rental of a room, office space, and then also we're paying for the space rental where our new modular is being set. And we can move on.
All right, go ahead and you can share on this as well, Teresa.
Can you see that?
Okay. Yes, I do. Thank you. This is our fundraising goals for this year. Our goal is to $113,216. A majority of that is coming from our grants, as Samantha said, from our CBB funding source is supplying a lot of our grant money to us. We do have 29% in carryover from previous years. That includes the stimulus, the CARES funds, and a little bit of ARPA monies that we were fortunate to get from CPB. So contributions and fundraising are a little low, and we're hope to get that going this year.
All right. And looking at this year so far, we just want to share with you all, our stakeholders, that we have been accomplishing so much since the beginning of the year. And a part of that is, you know, being able, like Teresa said, build on our capacity by attending various trainings. One significant training was the FEMA emergency preparedness training, where we were able to bring along, with the help of the Hopi Foundation's Emergency Relief Fund, some tribal delegates from the Hopi tribes, emergency service personnel. So people we had a rep from the law enforcement, the emergency director of emergency, I forget his title, but he's the director there. Safety director is his title. And then also a representative from the chairman's office, and the Indian Health Services representative. So they attended along with KUII staff to learn about emergency preparedness and public safety communications. The other significant trainings allow us to also, you know, be more familiar with our new broadcast equipment and software. We've made a lot of great connections with important partners at the National Federation of Community Broadcast this year, along with Native Public Media. So these are vital partnerships in order for us to properly operate our radio station at KUII. We've been able to complete some really important audits and inspections for the radio so we can continue operating. We're, like we said, upgrading our broadcast equipment, as well as hiring our staff. We've hired our new production assistant just in April, Josh. You'll hear him on the radio most of the time. Our station manager, Teresa, here, as well as we did have a resignation of our receptionist, Mariah, but we've been able to hire a new receptionist who will be starting on Monday. And then we've had significant programming, new programming with KUII Coffee Talk. If you've been able to listen in on those, they're on Tuesdays and Thursdays with local and outside programs and individuals who are just, you know, making waves, or, you know, are newsworthy. So they come in and we are able to interview them. And then most recently, our most popular programming on the Pueblo Revolt learning series. So we hope to just continue growing there once we put a pause on this month to allow us to do the move to our new station. And that's kind of what I've been really focusing our time on, or my time, is to get this move to our new studio there. But I can't commend the staff enough, just hitting the ground running. KUII is such a really versatile place to work. I mean, you have one day you're doing one thing and then next you're doing something else. So it's been a very good learning opportunity for me, and just really happy to and happy and proud of the team that I worked with. So Teresa can close out with us here.
Okay, as Sam said, we've been hitting the ground running. Like I said, I've only been there 4 months into the station manager's position, and it has been a big learning curve for me. So we've been moving along. So in the next 2 quarters, we're going to be focusing on getting prepared to do the big move into our new modular, which is really, we're so anxious to get there and so enthusiastic to move in there and get to working in our new quarters. So yes, Sam said she's focusing on that, and I hope we're nearly there. So pray for all of us. Our next is our fundraising efforts. We're trying to raise the money to match our CBB grant of $100,000. So we're going to be getting into the November Giving Day forum and see how that pans out. We're doing a lot of underwriting, reaching out to past underwriting clients to bring them back, and let's get moving and see how we can go on. Reporting and compliance, that's always a big one, because with the grants with CPB, we do have financial and programmatic narrative reports that we gotta submit, including logs to our public files. There's a lot of reporting requirements that come with our CPB grant through FCC, because they have the guidelines. And of course, all our smaller grants, and working also with administration on our financial audits and getting that up to speed. We've been so lucky since I've come on board that we've networks with Sam's help to network with all our funding sources that they're giving us and providing us all the technical assistance we need to get where we need to be to continue with KUII. So our main focus for the next 2 quarters is going to be on the fundraising and making sure we're on time with those reporting requirements, and then also the move. And of course, Sam and I have been in discussion of the grand opening of our new quarters. So you'll be hearing from us on that. So thank you all.
Thank you, Sam and Teresa. It's exciting when I hear the updates on radio, because it's been a long time coming to create some roots for the station. So I hope you can all come and join and celebrate the opening once that's scheduled. So I'll go ahead and move on to our next presentation from the Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center. Brian Humitiwa. Brian, try unmuting one more time. Thank you.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can see and hear you.
Okay, great. I'm cutting in and out of here. So, hello everybody. My name is Brian Humitiwa. I am the program manager for the Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center. I'm Bear Clan from Masangnavi, and I have to say that since I've become the program manager of, it's been a journey. And this past year has been a really good learning opportunity for our program as well as myself. So just kind of going through our dashboard here with the 3-year funding source. So we're looking at the gray line, and this is the year to date. We've had a little bit of a decline. And then going back to the operating budget, we've been pretty steady. And then the fundraising goal has increased. The reason why we're looking at the fundraising goals, Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center runs off of one grant, and currently we're in our final year of our grant, which will be ending September 30th, the last part of this year. So really looking at our fundraising, but also implementing some different ideas that we have. One thing that we're doing is we're utilizing the online market sales. We've been having t-shirt sales, which has been really helping our program, but also various donors throughout the year, which is really interesting. And I believe it's a result of just the social media that we have. We utilize, we use the Facebook, we have the LinkedIn, and then just what a lot of is going on with our program, really being proactive in the community. So really looking at those type of opportunities. We did reapply for our grant. So we're really hoping to hear back that, we were approved for the grant to continue our services. We're still utilizing some carryover from our Otten's grant that we had, and really looking at the things that we're utilizing the funding for. This year we started off strong in 2023. We started off fully staffed. We had a youth mentor, we had 3 mentors, and then a program manager. And throughout the year, post pandemic, we've really been concentrating on strengthening our collaboration efforts again, going from online Zoom 12-step meetings to going back to 100% in-person meetings. So we've had a little bit of some hits and misses as long as since we've been doing this, really looking at it, but we're still offering the Zoom option in our mentoring and things like that, because we recognize that it works for some people. It works. And so really being flexible and being able to navigate through the processes to help our community members who are in need of our services. And also really looking at the need now more than ever. I'm pretty sure that everybody on the call is aware of some of the bad players in the residential treatment game that's been happening. So really being that program that they can come home to, providing aftercare and things like that. So when we're looking at our operating budget of 247,000, and how that's divided up, obviously 76% is towards personnel, ensuring that, we're operating and that we're able to provide services with our personnel. The next one is our 13%, which is our occupancy, the bills, utilities, internet. We just got Starlink. So that's been a really huge plus. Looking at service wise, the effect that it has, not really running into that frustration of being disconnected during the calls. Even our trainings, online trainings and things like that are improving a lot. The next one is 5%, which is program expenses. So when we're looking at program expenses, this year we've actually been able to travel a little bit more, but also get these trainings that we need. So for example, all staff are currently peer support certified through the state of Arizona. And that has been really significant for our program because now, obviously transitioning from a grassroots organization and moving up the ladder to be actual visibly equal to the services that behavioral health is providing has been really excellent. And with that, really looking at our meetings that we've been having, we had one, which is a collaboration and strengthening meeting with Hopi Behavioral Health, really looking at the referral process, really looking at, the whole from start to finish or from start to aftercare so that we're not losing a lot of the clients or the participants in the middle there, being able to communicate in a way that everybody is on the same page, ensuring the success and the outcome of our participants. We're still continuing our trainings with Mary Fabry, who is working with us on our historical trauma or our trauma-informed care, which has been really beneficial, really adding that emotional intelligence and things like that in a lot of our trainings, and actually sharing that with our participants. The 3% is business operations. Again, going back to being able to operate on a daily basis, so really looking at how our fundraising, but also looking for alternative funding sources to improve our services is what we're concentrating on. 66% is from grants, again from our TISAP grant that we have through the Arizona Governors of Youth, Faith and Family Office. The other one is contracts and things like that, which is 28%. The next one would be our contributions, our fundraisings, and then our merchandise sales. Again, looking at being more strategic. A lot of our fundraising comes from Arizona Gives Day and then Giving Tuesdays. We've actually started looking at the way that we're fundraising and actually setting goals, actually being strategic, having different levels of where we want to be and what we're trying to do. And really that's all learning through the process of actually going through these different events. So our next fundraising event that we have and that is set is our hand drum celebration for September National Recovery Month, and that's going to be in collaboration with KUII. And what that is because we recognize that recovery is broader than just substance abuse. It's when working at pandemic, pre-pandemic, alcohol abuse has really been a pandemic we've been combating since as far as I can remember. So really looking at the effects of all of these things, recovering from even COVID itself, recovery losses of family members, community members, ailments, anything that has to do with recovery. We want to celebrate, we want to be able to add that positive back into the community and let people know that, yeah, we took a hit, but we can still celebrate life. We can still move forward, and it's going to take a whole community to do.
I think we lost Brian. I know he's got some connection issues, so we'll go ahead and finish the rest of his presentation, and we'll see if he wants to add anything when he returns. Okay, so I've been overseeing the program since we detailed SAM in May, so I'm familiar with some of their goals. Looks like Brian's back. All right, Brian.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, welcome back.
Apologies. Apologies. I'm still I'm at home. So with our strategic plan, obviously we completed our strategic plan, which has been really beneficial to our program. So when I looked at our strategic plan, we've already completed a majority of the things for 2023, but also we're already in the plans of working on 2024. And one of those things that we wanted to actually accomplish in 2024 was to implement a client database system. And so we're actually utilizing one that has been developed and with one of our contractors. So, and I was looking at the referrals that we've received just in the month of, from I want to say April, we've received about 32 referrals. And when you're looking at that, that's huge, especially with having only 2 mentors and then a program manager. So really looking at how we're going to move forward and fulfill those positions. The other thing was that to implement an empowerment curriculum. So last year or the beginning of this year, we actually started to be empowered in Second Mesa Day School, and now we're working with Kings Canyon. We're actually drafting the MOU. So all of these things that we're working on is really about strengthening and then also collaborating and securing those processes through documentation. And so when we're looking at youth empowerment, it's a intervention prevention program for youth, and it comes in stages. So what you have is the to be empowered, which is given to the
Oh dear. I apologize for his connection. He's calling from Muntapi and it's not a really stable area for internet. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward. I think he's talked about most of their goals for this year. And this last bullet, we did accomplish that. Brian Hamitiwa is now the permanent program manager for the Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center. He has grown leaps and bounds in his leadership, starting off as a mentor in the program and then is going to be wrapping his first full year as a manager. So welcome back, Brian. We're going to go ahead and transition to the next program. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I encourage folks who are called to, chat with Brian if you have questions or want to continue the conversation from what he shared. I'm going to go ahead and transition now over to the Not One Coalition. And that is with Kyle Newton.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. I'm currently joining over my phone. My laptop will not work with Zoom right now for whatever reason. So apologies if this goes a little bit slower. But anyways, my name is Kyle Newton. I come from Hope Villa. I'm Tawongwa, I'm San Clan. I started out with the Hopi Foundation in 2019, the very beginning of that year, as a program associate, and became the manager in I think mid 2021. So I guess first off, I would like to thank the foundation too for giving me the opportunity to, I guess, demonstrate my skill sets with the program and also grow as much as I can with, as I continue to grow with the program. But that being said, thank you everyone, and I can jump into this first this diagram here, see here in front of you, the 3-year funding history. So I can start off with first the operating budget. If you look at it, we're going back to 2020. It kind of takes a slight dip and it excels again. And mainly what this is representing is in 2019, the Not Winning Coalition received a very large grant, which was resulted from a settlement. And so it was very large. I think it was something like $1 million, maybe $1.5 million. I'm not too sure. I can't remember off quite the top of my head. But very large number of that went to re-granting funds for the community, also to individuals. So we had these capacity grants where other local organizations could apply for up to $25,000. So you can see that where the operating budget is just below 400,000 for that year, and it dips a little because we were still going through our funds and granting out awards. And then you see it spike up again in 2022 because we received a multi-year grant at the end of that year. So that's what we're operating for this year and next year. So you see that little jump there, that blue line. And if we go to the fundraising goals, it kind of mirrors, for the most part, the operating budget line just below it. So you can see it kind of stay steady for a little bit, but then it spikes again. And the reason again for that spike is our funding goal for that 2022 year was to receive this fairly large grant that we did receive. So that's why you see that spike there. Those year endings that you see, that gray area, which is like the highest line that you see in the graph. A big part of that too, again, is because we're operating off a very large grant where we could, I think we had, in terms of organization grantees, we had some off the top of my head, 20 through those years from 2019 through 2020, end of 2021. And that's where those year ending is coming from, those large amounts, some of it from carryover from previous years. Also, a large amount of that also represents an endowment that we received that for our food and ag endowment, which we can pull from depending on the year. But we can pull from those funds. So we can have a drawdown from the endowment, and we can use it to re-grant funds for our microgrant program, which awards individuals who have projects in mind that align with our same scope of work at the Net Winning Coalition program. So you can see that gray line, which is why it's kind of higher above some of these, the operating budget and the fundraising goal. And if you look at our 2023 operating budget, which is just above 200,000, 62% of that goes to personal expenses, so that's salaries. And because we are a direct service program, that requires a lot for us to utilize at least 62% of that. If you go to the program direct expenses, the 23%, that gray area you see there, that is mainly for like program supplies and materials for when we do direct services like workshops or presentations. Some of that is for possibly stipends for presenters that we reach out to, or just community members that we utilize that are willing to share knowledge. Also, part of that is that 23% is the re-granting of funds that you see. So for this year, 2023, we awarded about, I think off the top of my head, $12,000 to individuals from the community. So that's part of that 23% that you see there. And also some of those, that 23% is like the bill we pay to host our website online, to also for some of the software we use, because we host the Hopi Farm, we do Hopi Farm Talk podcast. So part of that is for like subscriptions, so we can edit that audio and then publish it. Now the next part you see, contract services. I guess I can go over this real quick. Contract services is mainly contracting with other programs here, so we can do the goal is to do site surveys, to partner with another, they're not a nonprofit, but they're a conservation. So that's where the contracting services come from. 1% travel, just because we have to travel, regular travel in the community. Business operations, that's just like printing, ink, things and such like that. Then occupancy, we were recently at the Net Winning Coalition did have its own location, office location, separate from the Hopi Foundation. So we were paying for like the Wi-Fi and the telephone bill, which took up part of that occupancy of 5%. You can go on to the next slide. So our fundraising goals, you can see it's essentially from two sources, which is from donations which is 50%, and 48% for fundraising. The reason for that is because we didn't have any projected we didn't project to be going after any grants this year, because we did receive we were notified of that we were receiving our multi-year grant in the end of the year 2022. So that shifted our fundraising goals to primarily focus on two sources, which is the donations and fundraising. And this was a good time to, or I guess maybe not excuse isn't the best word, but a good reason to put more effort into building our capacity with donor relationship and fundraising campaigns, strategies, and things like that. The other 2% is from our the merchandise. So you might have heard it earlier from the other program managers. There's you can buy materials. I'm not materials, but like T-shirt merch, stickers, mugs, and stuff like that from programs on our online site. So that's that 2% that you see. So this one, so before I guess I go into the Nut Winnie's years ahead, I can quickly go over some of the things we've done so far up to this year. So my apologies that I did not list that there, but off the top of my head, so what we've done this year is we've hosted about roughly 8 to 10 community events, and those were either presentations or technical workshops. Some of those presentations included traditional aspects of like seed keeping. So we had community members and be able to present on their information specifically from a female's point of view. We also had technical workshops where we partnered with another organization, the Hopi, excuse me, I'm blanking on it, not the Hopi Food Co-op, but the U of A Extension Agency with Susan Sikiakwaptiwa. And we were able to host about 6 or so workshops. Some of those had to do with creating your garden bed, development of a hoop house, creating starters, transplanting starters. And so mainly in the garden / like ag realm. So we hosted about 8 to 10 of those, all those together. A cool thing that we did too is we have about we're reaching about 2,000 downloads from our Hopi Farm Talk podcast. So you can find that anywhere from like if you have Spotify, if you have, I'm not too even sure, like a Google podcast, pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. So we have about in bank about 12 episodes since we revamped it at the end of last year. And we have about 2,000 downloads. So that sounds pretty good to me for our first time attempting to host a podcast. And we're going to expand upon that and grow. We also have helped host the farmers market up to this date. If you happen to be there, you'll typically see one or both of the team there helping to support the farmers market. We also, again, distributed our micro grants for this year, which was about 12,000 we distributed to individuals. So they're right now working on their projects, and we continue to like check up on them and see how they're doing and see where we can help them. So that's for from a bird's eye view what 2023 was like. And so for going into the next year, we want to host an agricultural photo challenge, which is something new we want to do because we also want to add on to our agricultural photos that we have framed, but we want to do like a contemporary maybe section of it in the form of, and we want to capture that in form of a photo challenge. But we also do want to expand onto the current collection we have of historical photos by printing and framing additional photos to add on to our exhibit. We want to develop the micro grant program, and what I mean by develop is develop the processes and procedures of accepting grants, reviewing grants, and also developing the accessibility to it. So all of our community members can have an equal chance in applying and potentially receiving funds. Right now, if it's what we experienced in the past couple of years due to the pandemic is because it was strictly all online. It kind of favored people who are more tech savvy. And there are people who are not necessarily tech savvy, but have great ideas and have a lot of knowledge. And so we want to be able to reach those people as well too. So we want to we're going to increase the accessibility of the grant process. And then we want to, right now we're experiencing a minor delay in capacity for our Hopi Farm Talk podcasts. It's been a few months since we've recorded an episode, but we wish to start that up again and be recording regularly, at least 2 episodes a month. And that'll also increase, oh, I guess before I go into that, we want to update our 2-year strategic plan, and collaborate with our CAB and also our stakeholders. And then we want to onboard a new staff for the coordinator position, which can relieve some of the stress that's currently put on our associate, and we can continue to expand and grow. But that's about it. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Him and his one other staff member are a very strong 2-member team for the Not-Wani Coalition. It's amazing the kind of output that they have from their small group, but Kyle knows how to leverage partnerships, and that's really shown in the past few years. Thank you, Kyle. I'm going to jump ahead to the Hopi Leadership Program and invite Cliff to unmute.
Hello, I'm here. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces and names, and nice to see new ones. And thank you for joining us tonight. Suep yayan ma tu kyang naman kang iswang pun anja Clifford K. and pahantang nita. My name is Cliff K. I'm the program manager for the Hopi Leadership Program. I am the manager, and then I have a program coordinator who's Xavier Sakiva. So I'm happy that we're here another year joining you in providing this snapshot of where we've come from in the 3-year funding cycle. As you can see, when we were in the pandemic time, we had an operating cost or budget at about 138 in 2020, and then we take a slight dip in 2021, and I came in right around midpoint of midway in 2021, and getting my my feet wet with the program, seeing what was done or what the ambitions were. And then we were able to kind of get back up to where we were at initially in 2020. We're fortunate to have program staff or Hopi Foundation staff that are familiar with our program. We have alumni who graduate from the Adult Leadership Program, who are part, obviously, of the community, but also who maintain ties with the Hopi Foundation and with our program as alumni. So we have staff who have been promoted and provided that guidance, along with our board members who are alumni members, and past staff, actually, past and current, who are alumni from the program. So they really do provide that guidance in terms of what the intent of the program is. So with our fundraising goal in 2020, you kind of see it matching up there slightly, and then we get ambitious. We start moving in terms of what can be done for 2022, increasing our fundraising goal. So now when we end at the year ending, we're slightly over in 2020. I think that was really from the campaigns that the foundation involves the programs with. So we're slightly over, and we did have carryover fundings because it wasn't the normal operations for our direct service programming to our cohorts, our youth leadership programming. But then again, you start seeing more expenditures as we continue through the year. So then it kind of decreases by the time we're getting to 2022. So for this year, the 2023 operating budget, as others have mentioned, the mainstay of our programs at the Hopi Foundation, of course, the Hopi Youth Leadership Program, being one of them with our staff of 2, is that we provide direct services. So our personnel expenses are the majority of our operating costs, but that's because we're not, going out and getting, too much of the contract services. So you see that small percentage of contract services. We're really reliant on the staff, the program staff, to provide those direct services to the 3 groups that we sustain in the program, which is our Hopi Adult Leadership Program cohorts that we've had 6 successfully complete groups of cohorts. There have been 6 that have completed the program. And then we have a youth leadership programming component as well. And then we are working on strengthening those ties with our alumni, that those individuals who become alumni after they graduate from the program. So those 3 groups are really the mainstay of the work that the Hopi Leadership Program does in providing community impact through the types of initiatives that they have in those programming groups, but also the things that they learn. So we're proud of our alumni that we have a diverse set of skills and expertise and work experience that these individuals go out into. And so it's always very cyclical with the leadership program. So we're one of the few programs right now. I mean, there's been shifts, but it's been pretty steady with us that we've been fortunate enough to be housed with the Hopi Foundation administration right at the Kikotsmavi building. So we don't have a lot of building and equipment costs. So that accounts for that and for our program. And on this one here, the way it's reflected is that, the mainstay of our programming dollars, our fundraised dollars come from grant sources. So when you look at that 3-year projection, you'll see the other thing is that, there's grant funders that have we've exhausted those fundings and they've moved on to other areas that they want to fund. But we've been fortunate enough through the work of, again, that good fortune of having Monica, having those networks, and our past program manager, Samantha Onani, who have maintained those connections. Even just overall, like I said, the staff and our alumni network who are connected with other grant sources or have experience with them, we've been able to connect with new ones or ones that have been dormant or that other programs have utilized. For example, we got funding from the Arizona Humanities, and I know that in past programming dollars were given to other projects of the foundation, but just through those communications and that being forwarded to us, we're able to apply for those funding dollars. And again, these new opportunities that come through, we've been able to get renewal grants, for example, from the Native Voices Rising, and that was another one that's was initially applied for under the former program manager who's been moving up the ranks in the foundation, Samantha Wanani. But we've been fortunate enough to be able to continue getting renewal grants for that. We've applied again, so we're waiting on word for that for this coming year. Hopefully that could be applied to that. And then through Monica and Sam, there's another foundation that we got funding for this year, which is called the Wayfarer Foundation. And again, recently, that's another one that we'll be working to get a renewal grant from. So grant funding sources are definitely a big part of our programming dollars, but a lot of the individual contributions also we benefit from the campaigns that the foundation is involved in bringing in all our programs to fundraise for the organization overall, and those are the Arizona Giving Day, and Arizona Gives Day, and the Giving Tuesday campaigns that we're a part of. And so those fundraising campaigns are really a big part in sustaining our programming and us being able to get exposure to a wider audience. And I think there's that exposure that brings in other private or individual donors who have been recurring donors to wanting to contribute to the youth leadership program specifically, or the leadership program specifically. And for our year ahead, this is an example, just the picture itself. With that collaboration, you know, Brian Humitiwa, the Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center program manager, he had a picture at the same location, which is just down the road from Hotvela, and it's referred to as Dawa Park. And apparently there's a petroglyph there that kind of, it's a spiral petroglyph, and certain times of the solstice, it hits on that spiral. So apparently that's why it's called Dawa Park. And there's one that depicts the sun, the movement of the sun, and another one that has the lunar cycle. So I mentioned that because it's this cross collaboration, this programming that gets put on by our brother programs, our sister programs within the foundation, that we are able to provide additional programs to our specific group. So that Dawa Park tour, we were able to host one in collaboration with one of our most recent alumni members who had a Walpi at Work program over the summer. So she had some of her youth participants join us, and we had our Hopi Youth Leadership Program participants from the high school that we had in the spring. We came together, and then we got connected with the cultural advisor who provides interpretations of those petroglyphs that the Substance Abuse Prevention Center has utilized before too, and the program has utilized as well. So we were able to do that, and this type of unique program is what we're looking to sustain. So of course, the year ahead is our guidance comes from our alumni, and that is one group that we definitely need to focus on in bringing back our committee, so that we can get that stronger guidance from them and what they want to see for programming and our goals overall. We do have a strategic plan that we can work with them, and again, kind of getting stronger in our own individual program marketing, providing or developing a greater strategic marketing plan, and focusing on those fundraising goals. So that's what we'd be focusing on, is raising those funding levels so that we can continue to provide this type of programming. But along with that, you know, the programming, both of the programs, they have their own curriculum, and we have the adult curriculum, and at our strategic plan, that is another portion that was discussed in terms of ramping it up, you know, or enhancing it. So we look to completing those revisions in the year ahead, and getting that in place. And then again, with us revitalizing the type of programming we've had for the youth, we've been fortunate to be able to get up to the high school, but these outdoor types of excursions, that's something that we'd like to be involved in on an ongoing basis as well. So that would be a goal that we have for next year as well, is to continue with the spring programming with our youth leadership program participants, but also summer. It's during that time that we see the youth maybe needing some type of programming or you know, some type of event that they can participate in. So we definitely like to work on keeping that going for next year. And again, for us, staff capacity, it would be focusing on that, raising our fundraising skills. We've had training from the foundation when I first got there, and I know it's a goal of the foundation overall to continue to enhance those skills. So we appreciate the facilitation and the fundraising skills that we've gotten. But I think once we continue to get more training in that area, that we'd be able to sharpen those skills and use it for the benefit of the program. So, Thank
you so much, Cliff. That's the last of my slides, but I want to just make sure, I'm going to stop the sharing right now. I just want to make sure that we cover a couple other points that did not make it to the slideshow. We do have other programs that didn't present this evening. Some are seasonal projects. For example, our Hopi Emergency Relief Fund. We've been raising resources to support community recovery around natural disasters, the more recent pandemic. Those are some of the examples of what that fund affords to our community in being able to fit a need around emergencies. So what we do have this year, we didn't distribute the grants yet, but this fall, we are looking forward to distributing about $160,000 in recovery funds to our community, to local nonprofits and villages. So we're going to be opening our funding portal for that this month. Another update around our seasonal projects, which is the Barbara Chester Award. I know we have Craig Ottinger on the call today, has some special interest in this. He's a community advisory member to the Barbara Chester Award. We've been struggling with being able to bring that program to full operation since the time of the pandemic. There were some challenges, or I would say maybe economic impact to the endowments that support this program. And we are also at a loss with one of our community members who passed recently, who was an integral part of this project. He helped to design the award sculpture to our awardees of the Barbara Chester program. So we do have a couple of gaps that we are looking to fill in determining how we're going to move forward with either designing a whole new sculpture or finding some support from the family to allow us to continue to use that design for future recipients. In the interim, I have been working closely with Dr. Mary Fabry, who is a 2009 recipient of the Barbara Chester Award. And because the program hasn't been able to launch full scale, one of the alternatives that we've been talking about has been to bring our awardees together to host a panel and provide education and awareness around the work of healing torture and trauma through their various community-based roles during the time of the United Nations convening. I believe they gather every year in March, so that's the target time we want to apply some of our effort in bringing together all of our awardees to educate on a global level around this work. So that's something that we're looking at filling in as an interim programming effort, and we'll keep you posted on how soon we'll be able to schedule another award session. Initially, I was hoping next year, but that's not going to be likely. And I'll continue to work with the board of the Hopi Foundation beyond my transition to see how we can continue to keep that on task. So thank you, Craig, for your ongoing support. And I'll go ahead and hand it off to Paul, who will provide a closing.
Okay. Thank you, Monica. And thank you, everyone, all the presenters for your programs and Hopi Foundation staff. I think you can tell if you're for those of you who are not part of the everyday goings-on of the Hopi Foundation, you can see there's a lot of really good work happening, and you can see the leadership presence as we have all of our staff talk about the things that are happening within their programs and their work. And those of you on staff, again, I just want to tell you, thank you for everything you're doing. The Hopi Foundation is it's like I said, it's a shining beacon out there in Indian country. The work being done is very visible. I want to just encourage you to keep working well in a good way. Continue to grow yourselves every day in all the different capacities you can, and continue to represent the foundation well outside in the community. The Hopi Foundation has high standards, and it's because of you that we have the reputation that we do. So thank you so much. And for everybody else, you can hear that I think everybody mentioned their strategic plans for their individual programs. The strategic plans that we do in the Hopi Foundation, it's a normal part of our operation. It includes the staff who are doing the work. It includes leadership, and it also includes community partners that we're working with. But very integrally and important, it includes community. Community have input into the outcomes that get set for what we want to achieve. Monica mentioned some of the measures for impacts. That's something that's ongoing regularly, so that when we're doing things, we're following our strategic plan, we're evaluating them, and things are getting done in a way that we're measuring what those impacts are. And we strive to do that by following the plans that we put in place and by following best practices. And that goes all the way up to the board level, where we take our governance role and the ethics and best practices for governance very, very seriously, and continue to strive to be the best, to run this operation in the best way that we can. Philanthropy in Indian country is a relatively new word. We have practiced philanthropy for centuries, but not in the monetary way. So this concept of money philanthropy is kind of a new thing that's kind of creeping into Indian country. And I want to encourage all of you on the res and on the staff to continue to grow and evolve this philanthropic endeavor, to contribute and donate as you can within your means, and but in the best way that you can to the Hopi Foundation and other organizations that are doing good things that rely on individual contributions as well as other forms of monies. And for those of you who are supporters of the organization, have continued to be or are brand new, thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything you're doing to contribute to this good work. As I said, the Hopi Foundation is not an organization that's about just offering support and money. Hopi Foundation, at its foundational value, is about supporting each other, where we're all vested in lifting ourselves up together. And the monies that we philanthropic to the organization support the organization in being able to do that, and it get recycled into the community to continue this work in a good way. So Kokoi, itamoy kanitota, thank you so much for making the time to be involved and engaged in this call today, and for everything you're doing to support the good work of the Hopi Foundation. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining.